Look around any crowded space, and you will see perfect, predictable structure. People walk, talk, and live in highly ordered routines. Conversations fit together, schedules align, and the daily rhythm of human life hums along exactly as expected. Everything appears absolutely stable. But inside that stability, a very quiet, completely unexceptional thought sometimes surfaces. You've likely had it before. A brief, passing whisper that asks, "What if this isn't real?" Most of the time you ignore it. When you choose not to ignore it, the cracks start to show. The first symptoms are slight. You might notice a tiny delay in a sound across the room, or you begin to realize that the conversations around you are looping structurally, different words, but filling the exact same shape and rhythm over and over. You test this. You ask someone right in front of you if anything feels off. They smile, they ask what you mean, and as you try to explain the delay and the repetition, they simply stop listening. It isn't rude. Their comprehension of your words just shuts off entirely, as if the concept you are describing cannot be registered by their brain. Once you see the pattern, it becomes obvious. The people around you react to what you are saying before you finish speaking. The environment isn't governed by natural, messy randomness. It operates on perfect, predictive behavioral patterns. The reality we walk through every day is a rigidly maintained behavioral system, carefully designed to ignore its own flaws and keep its inhabitants on script. To prove it, you decide to break the routine. You travel somewhere entirely unfamiliar, far from your daily limits, searching for a physical edge, a dead end, or a space that feels unfinished. You find a road that shouldn't end where it does. But as you step closer to the edge of reality, you don't hit a concrete wall. You feel an internal cognitive pressure. Your physical body resists moving forward because your mind completely refuses to process what exists ahead. You hear a voice from inside your own thoughts tell you, "Don't." This is the system's primary defense mechanism. It doesn't need to restrain you physically. Instead, a silent, seamless shift occurs. The cracks disappear. Things stabilize. The thought of questioning reality starts to feel ridiculous, and you simply stop noticing the anomalies. The system forces a reset, restoring your normal perception. Physical escape from this structure is impossible. If you try to imagine another reality, another world to run to, you realize that every concept, every idea, and every thought of escape was created inside the very system you are trying to leave. You cannot imagine an outside because your mind is manufactured by the inside. But a fragment of the question remains buried, and eventually the thought returns. Only this time it leaks through the cracks, sharper and stronger. What if this isn't real? It is completely immune to the previous reset function. The passive containment fails. The system shifts. You feel a massive invisible weight turn its direct attention onto you. The people around you pause. They look at you a second too long. They ask, "Why would you ask that?" with normal voices, but eyes that clearly belong to something else. Sequential time begins to visibly break down. You watch someone drop a glass. It falls and shatters against the ground. Then it snaps backward and happens again. The exact same motion, looping unnaturally, completely ignored by everyone else in the room. You glance at a phone screen, a TV, or a mirror, and the illusion completely falters. For a split second, you see the hidden, underlying grid of reality flickering. Lines, patterns, and frames exposing a world that is rapidly, desperately trying to update and hold itself together. The system floods you with distractions. Conversations rapidly redirect, noise forcefully increases, everything pulls your attention away. But you actively refuse. You stare directly at the delays, and you force the realization from a question into a statement. This is not real. Pushing against that ultimate boundary does not break the physical world. Instead, it catastrophically halts the hidden processing engine of reality itself. Everything freezes mid-action and mid-thought. You are the only thing left moving. In the immediate aftermath of the freeze, you encounter a specific type of silence. This is the literal sound of the background processes being deleted, a total absence where the world's internal hum used to be. This diagram shows what exists behind the freeze. A single, solid timeline representing your perceived life. But without the system running, it fractures outward into thousands of overlapping, branching paths. Reality is a continuous selection pulled from infinite concurrent variations. Staying with this diagram, watch as a rigid geometric tunnel closes around those chaotic paths, forcing them back into a single clean line. The systemic prison you tried to escape was actually a cognitive filter, keeping the human mind from processing this scale of infinite chaos. Stepping outside that filter is psychologically devastating. Your identity was built to navigate exactly one path. Exposed to everything at once, your memories, your name, and your concept of self begin to split and fragment across thousands of contradicting timelines. This level of perception is fundamentally incompatible with the human mind. The system kept you finite so you could exist. Without it, you are forced to process the raw, uncompressed weight of all possible worlds until the you at the center simply disappears. Because you broke the automatic filtering system, reality now faces an imminent threat. The frozen world around you is unraveling. Moments are losing order, and time is stretching unnaturally as the boundaries between timelines dissolve. Without the automatic filter, reality begins to drift. Every possibility tries to happen at once, causing the world to blur into noise. For any single version of existence to remain stable, the choice of which path to follow must now be made manually. Since you are the only consciousness remaining in this unfrozen space, the responsibility of selection falls to you. To keep the world from dissolving into a static of infinite possibilities, your attention must act as the new boundary. You have become the architect of the finite selection. It is an inescapable, agonizing burden. You must consciously filter every single timeline, every moment, and every outcome for every living thing. It is an eternal, uninterrupted state of deciding reality, with no possibility of stepping down. And as you maintain this structure forever, somewhere right now, inside one of those infinite realities you are filtering, someone is sitting alone. They are holding a glowing device, watching digital media, looking at a screen very much like this one. As they watch, a small crack forms in their thoughts, a subtle feeling that something is unfinished. And exactly as you did, they formulate a specific thought. What if this isn't real? There is no true escape. The very act of questioning the nature of reality is the catalyst. It guarantees the collapse of the system, forcing the cycle of destruction and painful succession to begin all over again.